Hello and welcome to the Not So Cool Kids podcast, episode 44. We're going to title this one, Will the Real Kirk Please Stand Up? That's right, because this evening we have Vic Mignogna with us, who's the executive producer, director, actor for Star Trek Continues, which is a hugely popular web series that just came out not that long ago, actually. They kickstarted it. And oh man, it's been burning up the web with these fantastic episodes, which just throw you right back into the old school Captain Kirk episodes of Star Trek. So thanks a lot, Vic, for coming on with us. We really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me, you guys.
And thank you, Glenn, for Glenn's coming on with us. He's a guest host this evening. Glenn, tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
I'm your typical geek. I do web work, software development, gaming. You name it.
Yes. You're the co-founder of Idea Sponge.
Yep. We're just a nothing really special yet, but we've got some big ideas. Hopefully one day we'll get out there and show it off to people.
Well, that's what it's all about, man. Very cool.
Very cool.
So thanks a lot for coming out with us this evening, Vic. We just kind of want to pick your brain. What really got you started down the Star Trek path? And obviously you're a very successful voice artist. So this isn't something you have to do, but it's obviously a labor of love, and it shows because the finished product is quite remarkable.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. Actually, it's completely and totally a labor of love. I've been a big fan of Star Trek, the original series of Star Trek, since I was 9 or 10 years old. And when I was a little boy, my mother would probably tell you I was obsessed with it. I memorized episodes word for word. I got my mom to teach me to use a sewing machine so I could make my own uniforms. I got her to teach me how to use the 8mm movie camera so that I could make my own movies and Star Trek episodes, and I rounded up the kids in the neighborhood and got them involved in these episodes where I played Captain Kirk, and I would sit and watch the episodes, and I would build my own communicators and phasers and tricorders, and I was really, really enthralled with the original series of Star Trek. So over the decades, I developed skills in acting and film production, shooting, directing, sound design, editing, all the elements of making films, and continued loving Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Doctor Who, just a lot of sci-fi in general. And then about a year and a half or two ago, I was invited to direct an episode for another Star Trek production called Starship Farragut. And I went to their facility, and I directed an episode for them, and we hit it off and got along great and really had a great connection. And it was that connection that made the wheels kind of start turning in my mind about doing a Star Trek web series that picked up where the other one left off, where the original left off, but doing it at a production level of quality unprecedented by fan productions to date.
Yeah, and boy, you really knocked it out of the park with that. I mean,
I agree.
Yeah, the sets. I don't know. Have you seen this, Glenn? Because the sets are phenomenal. I mean, they look like you just found the people who built the original sets and said, "Hey, can you recreate that for us?"
Yeah, it was so easy to forget.
Well, you know what's funny, Brian, is that even after you build the sets, they're different people have built sets before, but even after you build the sets, you have to know how to light the sets properly.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And then you have to know how to position the camera properly and choose the right angles and the right lenses. And there's so many things that go into creating that look and feel of the original series. And that was something that I wanted to make sure and accomplish from the very beginning.
Yeah, and I actually went to Midwest Media Expo, and I went to your Star Trek Continues panel.
Oh, great!
Yeah, it was phenomenal, and I got to see the episode Lulani, and you guys showed a little excerpt of that right up to the big reveal of who the episode's guest star was, which was very cool. And wow, I mean, I really didn't expect, like you said, that level of production value in such an amazing endeavor that also brings people like myself, who, you know, I'm 30 years old, but I certainly didn't watch the original series, you know, concurrently when it came out. I'm a fan of Star Trek Next Gen, but I can really, really get on board and appreciate how close you've gotten it. It's amazing, and it's not like you're recreating it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, we want to continue it, and
yes,
you know, perhaps even take it in directions that it might have gone had it continued. You know, there are an awful lot of things that go into doing something like that, and a lot of people don't realize everything that must go into making something, you know, look like that and feel like that. I mean, even if you get the sets right, and even if you know how to light the sets aren't alive.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, the sets are nothing more than a background.
Absolutely.
The audience cares about what's going on in front of the sets. You have to tell a good story.
And you've assembled a phenomenal cast too. Really, just
well, exactly, and that was another point that I was going to mention, was even if you have a good story, if you don't have actors that can execute that story well, then at any point along the way, it's just going to fall flat on its face. There are many, many, many things that go into making something like this.
And how long exactly? You know, this was a crowdfunded a project, and did you feel the passion right away from the audience? Let me correct you a little bit there, Brian, if I may. Oh, sure.
Building the sets and the first episode were not crowdfunded.
Oh, okay.
They were Vic funded.
Oh, Vic funded. Okay.
I didn't feel like I could, in good conscience, ask people to give me money to make something that I hadn't proven I could do.
Sure.
So I put probably $40,000 to $50,000 of my own money.
Holy cow!
Into building the sets, leasing a space to build the sets in, paying to have stuff made, all of the lumber and raw materials, flying people down to the studio, putting them in hotels, buying food for everybody while they were there. I funded, myself and some of my friends funded the first episode completely.
That is.
It was not crowdfunded. And after we did the first episode,
yeah,
and got such a positive response, that was when we launched a crowdfunding campaign. And
so when you released that first episode, what was the reaction of the audience? Did it just immediately were you getting lit up with emails, you know, saying this is amazing?
Well, yeah, I think that people were for the most part extremely blown away by what we had done.
Yeah. And
I think that's one of the things that led to such a successful Kickstarter campaign.
Absolutely.
Was that people could actually see what they were going to be getting for their money. And you know, and we were really blown away by the response that we got from the Kickstarter campaign. And we raised the money to produce 3 more episodes, and Lolani was the first of them, The second one of them, which will be our third episode, is going to be premiering in Sydney, Australia, in about 2 weeks.
Yes.
And then we'll have one more episode that we'll be making with the money that the Kickstarter raised before we will probably go to Kickstarter again and try to see if the fans would be willing to fund us for another 3 episodes.
Yeah, I'm absolutely pumped about this episode 3. I mean, we just put the poster up on our website today on our Facebook page, and boy, is it cool. I mean,
wait till you see it. It's going to blow people away.
And just so, in case anyone was wondering, episode 3, there's a huge guest star in it, which obviously is out of the bag already, but Lou Ferrigno actually comes on, and that's great. How did you get Lou?
You mean you're talking about episode 2?
Yes, in episode 2.
Lou Ferrigno and I are good buddies. We've done several convention appearances together, and we've become good friends over the last few years. And I was hanging out with Lou one weekend at a convention, and he asked me what I was up to, and I told him that I was working on creating this Star Trek production, and Lou said to me, if you ever, I would love to play a role in it sometime. I'm a big fan of the original series of Star Trek, and I'd love to be in an episode. And so when we wrote the Lolani story idea, and there was a role that seemed to be perfect for Lou, I called him, and he said absolutely he would do it. And he flew down there and spent 3 days on the sets with us and had a great time.
That's awesome. And tell the folks what he said when he I think you said it at the panel, but he mentioned.
Oh, right. When I told Lou that he was going to be green again, and that the fans, how much the fans would absolutely love to see him green again, the first thing he said was, "Don't make me look like the Hulk." And I said to him, "Louie, I promise you're not going to look anything like the Hulk. I promise you."
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's hilarious. So any insights on episode 3 that you can give us without spoiling anything?
Well, I can tell you what you probably already know from the poster, and that is this episode takes place in the mirror universe.
Ooh.
Most people agree that if you were to ask Star Trek fans to name their top 5 favorite Star Trek episodes, Mirror Mirror would probably be one of them.
Yes.
That was the episode with the parallel universe and the mirror enterprise, with Spock and having a goatee and everybody advancing in rank through brutality and assassination, and we have created what I feel confident is by far the best episode we've done yet, and I think it's just going to blow everything else out of the water. I think people are just going to be absolutely astounded by this episode.
I love it. And so is this a continuation of that original story, or is this like set before that happens, or how is that in the continuity of? Well,
we haven't. Let me just say that we haven't given away too much.
Okay.
We haven't given away.
You got to hold it to close to your chest, because when this big reveal comes, man, people are going to be all over it. And so this is in Sydney.
Yeah.
Sydney that you're doing this.
Exactly. Yeah. In 2 weeks, myself and 5 of my cast members are flying to Sydney, Australia, where we'll be premiering the episode there.
Wow. How does it feel to be a part of a project like this? And obviously, like you said, you'd mentioned you're a lifelong, original Star Trek fan, and to be able to play this iconic role of Captain Kirk, How does that make you feel? Like you wake up every day and people go, Vic, and then they associate obviously with your voice acting is huge, but now this, I mean, this comes along. This is huge.
Well, there really aren't words to describe what a privilege and a childhood dream come true it is for me to get to be a part of Star Trek and to get to play, this role, this character that so inspired me when I was a little boy.
And so you were in Detroit recently with the Midwest Media Expo. Any good Detroit stories? Did you enjoy the city while you were here?
I did. I didn't see much of the city, but I certainly loved the people. And we had so many wonderful people show up for the event. And in fact, I've been invited back by the same people that run Midwest Media Expo. I have been invited to be a guest at this year's Youmacon, which is an anime convention there in Detroit. I don't know that I'm going to be able to make it, but I certainly love being in Detroit and meeting the fans there any chance I get.
Yeah, Yomacon's huge, and they're huge fans of you for sure. Anime is huge here. The Youmacon, I mean, I've tried to get a press pass the last few years. It's a big deal. That's great. That's phenomenal. So you probably heard this already, but LeVar Burton just recently kickstarted an amazing project for Reading Rainbow, and it raised over $1 million in the first day. How does that make you feel as a person who kind of?
You know what? I know LeVar and the rest of the Next Gen cast, and I actually have a good mind to drop LeVar a note and congratulate him, because I think that's absolutely wonderful. I mean, Reading Rainbow is such an iconic part of our children's culture, children's television culture, and I think that people know that. I think people recognize that, and that's why they were so readily willing to give to it. I'm very, very happy that they did so well.
And I just checked it today. It's already almost peaked at another $1 million. So
wow.
Second day.
So it's almost at $2 million now?
Yes.
Wow.
It's just fantastic, and the fact that he's making it free for all schools to be able to use, that's just it's a great thing.
Yes, indeed.
So, any crazy convention stories? We always ask this because obviously you travel around a lot, you go to a lot of conventions, and you meet a lot of great celebrities, but a lot of fans too. But sometimes fans can be a little bit crazy. Anything happen to you along the way that's shareable?
There's been I've had my share of interesting experiences here and there, but I have to be honest with you, Brian, and tell you that for the most part, all of the interactions that I've ever had with the fans have been overwhelmingly positive. I have never had an experience of a fan being rude or cruel or hurtful. I mean, doing anything at a convention to cause trouble. Mm-hmm. I've certainly had plenty of very excited, enthusiastic fans.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, but there are a lot of those. But I mean, I love them to death, and I applaud them for their enthusiasm about the things that they have a passion for.
Absolutely.
I don't have a problem with that.
Congoers are a very dedicated breed to their audience of different fandoms that they frequent, and it's just great to see. You go to a convention, you feel like it's a family.
Yes.
That's how it always feels, and I don't know if you feel that same love, but
I do. I absolutely do. I used to go to Star Trek conventions when I was a little boy. When I was a little kid, I used to go to Star Trek conventions and dress up as Captain Kirk. So believe me, I totally understand.
That's great.
Totally understand the passion that fuels people's interest in doing these things.
Glenn, do you want to shoot Vic a question real quick?
Yeah, I've got one. The episode Lolani, what sparked that whole message? I mean, that message is one very particular to me, too. I do a lot of work with fighting human trafficking, and when I saw that, I thought the acting and everything was great, but then when it got down to the meat of it, I was just blown away. I was like, wow.
I don't know if you heard that, Vic, but Glenn is mentioning the fact that the storyline of Lolani is all about kind of trafficking and how did you come about, that plot and actually conveying a really positive message about, the aftermath of that.
Well, I would have to say the way that we came about with that was that the way we came about with that was that I was talking with a friend of mine named Houston Huddleston, and we were talking about somehow or another an Orion slave girl came up,
mm-hmm.
and we were talking, the subject of an Orion slave girl came up, and we were talking about how it's interesting that in the original series, the concept of this slave girl that is supposed to, represent, passion and seduction and sex appeal, and men can't resist her, and all of that. It was very, it was very sex-driven, and she was, and the Orion slave girls kind of lived just for the purpose of providing pleasure to men.
Mm-hmm.
And as we started talking about it, we started talking about, well, if they're slave girls and they're forced into this kind of a life, that can't be all that pleasant.
Right.
And then we started talking about, what if we were to tell a story about one of them that escapes, and you come to find out that, conditions with sex trafficking and human trafficking with these slave girls is just horrific.
Mm-hmm.
And these girls are desperate to be free and have a chance to live free. And so that was how the idea took shape, and especially because of so much human trafficking that is prevalent today in our world.
Yeah.
And as you both know, Star Trek was famous for doing
yes.
that kind of thing. They were famous for taking a topical story, a socially relevant issue, and couching it in a sci-fi story that would resonate with people.
And it would impact, generations to come too. I mean, even the following series that came from it, the different Star Trek incarnations, I guess you could say, all had that, and it all derived from the original Star Trek show, conveying these messages that are positive and controversial sometimes.
Oh yeah, very.
Yeah, so actually we just had Houston Huddleston on our last show, so that was it was great that I saw that he told us that he helped co-write that Lolani episode.
Yes, he did. Houston and I were the ones that came up with the story idea, and then we worked together with another friend of mine to write the script, and that's how it took shape.
Yeah, and what an amazing project he has going right now, the Science Fiction Museum.
Yes.
Have you been hearing a lot of buzz about that around?
Oh, yeah.
It's a phenomenal project.
Oh, yeah. I sure have, and Houston has been kind of keeping me in the loop on it as well.
That's great. And now, have you ever met any of the original cast, and what has been their feedback from Star Trek Continues?
Well, I've actually met most all of them. When I was a little boy, I met Dr. McCoy and Mr. Scott at Star Trek conventions when I was a little boy, and of course now they've passed away. But in the last few years, not only have I met William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, Nichelle Nichols, Walter Koenig, and George Takei. Not only have I met them, but in many cases have actually become friends with them because of my voice acting work. I do a lot of convention appearances, and in many cases they are guests at the convention, so
right.
we end up getting the chance to interact and chat a lot. And so yeah, I've had a very, very special opportunity to become friends with them.
That's amazing. And their reaction, have they been able to watch the episodes? Any of them comment?
Well, I can tell you that Nichelle Nichols sat in the front row when we premiered our first episode.
Wow.
And absolutely loved it.
That had to be feel great to you, huh? I mean, that just had to be great moment.
Yes. I can't even begin to tell you what a joy that was. So she sat in the front row and just loved every minute of it. And then I don't know that George Takei knows anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
I've made it a point not to talk about. I mean, I don't pester people with this stuff. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. No, but if they find it on their own and then mention it to you, that's like you said, having kind of the original cast kind of be able to take a look at it and go, wow, this is just, how did you guys, just
exactly.
That's got to feel amazing.
It does, and that's one of the neatest parts about what we're doing is that the original actors that have seen it, think it's absolutely amazing, and and they're so very kind and complimentary about it. But I've not really pushed. You know what I mean? I've not pushed any of them to, hey, you got to check out what we did, kind of thing. I just don't do that. I kind of let them find it on their own, and we're making it because we love it, and hopefully other people will enjoy what we're doing as well. So,
Glenn, do you have another question for Vic?
Yeah, one more. Any chance of any cameos from any of the cast from other?
Oh, that's a good
there
question.
is absolutely a good chance for that. But I will tell you this. We are guided by the premise that story is first.
Right.
Story. Story is always the thing. So we're not going to do something, let's figure out a way to bring somebody into the show. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If we come up with a story that we feel, warrants bringing somebody in, then we would love to have that happen. But we're not doing it just, we're not going to tell a lame story just to have Nichelle Nichols in the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think the original actors would really want to do something that was kind of lame just to be in it. You know what I mean? I don't know that they would even want to do that. So the answer is definitely a resounding yes. If we get an opportunity, we would love to have them in one of the episodes. But it would have to be a good story.
Absolutely. That just says a lot about the people that are behind this project, and the fact that you guys are really working on making it a quality production and not something just willy-nilly, creating things because
Exactly.
you want to enter things into it without really making a cohesive story. So
exactly. There are a lot of fans out there, and probably fan productions that would be like, oh, let's get, so-and-so to be in one of our episodes. And that's really cool, but if it's not a good story, it's not going to matter who was in your episode.
Very, very, very good point.
So that's why we determined from early on that we were going to make sure that the stories were good, and that would be our main priority.
Now, you have a pretty large cast. How do you guys all work out your schedules to travel around together and stuff? I mean, that's got to be difficult.
Well, it's not easy, that's for sure. You're absolutely right. That is one of the trickiest, probably the two trickiest things about what we do probably the two trickiest things are people's schedule and good stories.
Absolutely.
Those are probably the two most difficult things to accomplish is, working out people's schedules so they can be there, and finding a time when everybody can be there, and then finding good stories. Those are the two biggest challenges, I think, probably, when you're doing a fan production like this, where you're doing a fan series where, you're not making any money, nobody's making any money, so, you completely rely on the good graces of people to give of their time and efforts to be there.
I also spoke briefly to Larry when he was at Midwest Media Expo, and we're hoping to get him on the show as well.
Yes, Larry is an awesome guy and a very, very dear friend of our production. We have, Larry was not originally supposed to be Dr. McCoy.
Really?
Chuck Huber, who is a voice actor friend of mine, was who I originally cast as Dr. McCoy. And what happened was just a couple of weeks before we were supposed to shoot the first episode, Chuck had a bit of an emergency and was not able to join us. And so Larry graciously stepped in at the last minute to play Dr. McCoy. And then, of course, he played McCoy for the second episode. But now, our original Dr. McCoy has returned. But we love Larry very, very much. And so Larry has stayed on, and he continues to be part of the Star Trek Continues family in a kind of a creative consulting capacity.
Yeah, and what a wealth of knowledge. I mean, the guy knows so much about Star Trek is amazing.
Right.
The brief conversation I had with him, he was just like, hey, yeah, well, I'm doing this, and check out this, I know, and then I looked him up online, too, and I'm like, wow, this guy has really got, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yeah, he's a great, great guy and a wonderful, wonderful member of the Star Trek Continues family, and we definitely are proud to have him as part of it.
Now, when you're kicking back, Vic, and you're not working on Star Trek Continues, you're not doing the voice actor thing, what entertainment do you like to ingest? Are you a big movie goer? Do you like certain TV show right now that's out? What's your poison?
Well, to be honest with you, I certainly love film. My girl and I go and work out. My girl and I go to see movies all the time. I love working out. Sports, love staying involved with sports and trying to stay active. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I do so many things that I love right now that, even if I'm not paid to do them, I would do them anyway, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah, that kind of leads into my next question. What pop culture projects are out there right now that you would just absolutely love to get in on? Is there a franchise that would just be an amazing thing to be a part of?
Well, absolutely. There are certainly things I would love to be a part of. Several things I would love to be a part of. I don't want to jinx it by saying them. There's certainly a lot of things that I would like to be a part of out there. But you know what? I got to tell you, Brian, I am so grateful for what I get to do.
Yes.
I am so grateful for my life. I'm so grateful for the voice acting work that I get to do. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to make Star Trek with my friends. I'm so grateful for my life that I almost feel that it would be disrespectful for me to want more.
Sure.
So I try to remind myself every day what a blessed gift of a life I have, and thank God every day for it. And I try not to be one of those people that's constantly looking for the next hit. You know what I mean? It's constantly looking for the next big thing for them to become more famous or more wealthy or whatever. I try not to be that person.
Well, that says a lot, and it's a great message to convey to even fans. Really be thankful for the life that you have and the blessings that you do have, and that's a fantastic place to end this interview. I really appreciate it, Vic. And quick question for you: any upcoming appearances, things you'd like to plug coming up?
Well, my goodness, this weekend I'll be off, but next weekend I'll be at an amazing anime convention called Colossal Con in Sandusky, Ohio.
Okay.
It's held at an indoor water park, which is amazing.
Wow.
And a lot of fun. And then the following week, I will be with my cast in Australia, where we'll be premiering the next episode of Star Trek Continues. So.
Well, we will be watching,
but
sir.
I will tell you this, and please pass this on to your listeners.
Yes.
www.risenbullrangers.com is my fan club website, and there my convention appearance schedule is posted, and you can see all the events that I'll be at, and I would love for as many of your listeners as possible to come and say hello.
That's phenomenal. Thank you so much, and I can't thank you enough for coming on and talking a little bit about Star Trek Continues, and we will definitely be watching. And thank you again. And anytime you guys want to come back and talk about an episode, the behind-the-scenes stuff, we would love to have you.
Thank you so much, man. I will take you up on that. And thank you so much to both of you for having me on.
All right. Thanks a lot, Vic. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that was amazing, huh, Glenn?
Yeah, it was.
He's such a really cool guy, and you never know what people are going to be like as far as being down to earth, but even at the end when I mentioned, is there any big projects or franchises you want to be a part of? And he's like, no, I'm just happy with what I have, but obviously I'd like more. But I mean, it's nice to hear that from someone who really appreciates what they have. And I didn't get to ask him the verses, I forgot, but the verses this week, I don't know if you've watched the show before, Glenn, but we do this thing, it's called verses. We take a fictional, non-fictional character, and we kind of pair them up against each other to see who would win in a mano-a-mano battle.
Okay.
I wish I could have asked him, because this is really kind of funny one. I did Kirk versus Kirk. Shatner versus Mignogna. So, who would win in a Kirk-off, I guess you could say. What's your thoughts, Glenn?
I would think Vic's Kirk would win. And I don't say that just because he's newer, but I mean, looking at him, I mean, he's a little bit buffer.
He's put together, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So, that's tough. And watching the show, he does such a great job playing Kirk.
Yes.
I mean, the mannerisms, the facial expressions, everything. I mean, you could tell.
He kind of owns his own Kirk. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I was thinking before, like when I was gonna start watching this series online, I was like, man, this is just gonna be a total rip-off of Shatner. It's gonna be a Shatner impression. It's not. It's nothing like a Shatner impression. It's Mignogna doing his own thing with the subtlety of what Shatner did, which was I can't even I don't even know how you bottle that, but somehow he's channeled it and brought it into his own, which is amazing.
Yeah, like it's the thing that I remember when I was watching it, remarking on it most was the pauses. You know, like
Yeah.
and it's amazing. Like in web development, we have a thing called, we talk about white space and how white space makes certain elements pop a lot more, and those pauses helps the way he communicates stand out a lot more. You know, you
Yes,
think about what
and
he's
it makes
saying.
the scene breathe too. It seems like it's not for dramatic use. It's more for it really adds something to the scene. Like I can't even explain it, but it's phenomenal. I would have to go with. They probably just kill each other. What do you? The Kirk off. It would be like they just phaser each other or something. Or maybe it's like a battle on the holodeck, and who God knows what happens. So that was an amazing interview. Great to talk to Vic Mignogna, and really looking forward to episode 3 of Star Trek Continues. Check
Same
out
here.
their website also, folks, and these are full episodes. They do not hold back. So what I usually do is I take my my cord and I just hook it up to my TV because it's that, the scope is so well done that you can watch it on TV and it looks brilliant. I didn't get to mention this to you, Glenn, but we do something on the show. It's called Collector's Corner. And it's basically just like a nerdy show and tell. I don't know if you want to quickly go get something. If you have anything, I don't know.
I got a couple things on my
Very
shelf
cool.
here.
Very cool. Because I'll just do mine real quick. It's not very big, but I went to go see a show at the Meadowbrook Music Fest. Jim Gaffigan. I don't know if you guys know Jim Gaffigan, the comedian, but this was when he was just coming out and just getting popular, and the Hot Pockets thing was real big. And my wife and I went to the show and sat in the way back, and we said, "Oh my God, this is so good." We watched him on TV, and he was phenomenal. He would always deliver. But in person, I mean, the guy did a huge show. I mean, very long. He did some new stuff. He did some old stuff. And it was just a great show. And by the time we got done, we were like, oh, that was amazing. I mean, and then they announced over the loudspeakers, Jim Gaffigan will be waiting, after the show to do autographs. And I'm looking around, I'm going, how's he going to do autographs? I mean, if you ever been to Detroit and seen the Meadowbrook Music Fest,
I've not.
Meadowbrook Music Theater is huge. I mean, huge. It's basically an outdoor pavilion type thing where there's just it's just like theater seating and seats go on forever, and then it goes into the grass. So all these people line up to the left hand of the stage, and I'm looking at this line, and it's going on forever. Jim Gaffigan waits till the very last person.
Wow.
Signs everyone's stuff and takes pictures with people for free. I mean, he was obviously selling merch, which is totally cool. Whatever, but I mean, the guy signed my ticket, and to this day, I say to Jim Gaffigan, class act, because people don't usually do that. They're either charging you an arm and a leg for an autograph, which is, hey, if that's the way you got to make your money, I get it. But for a guy to stay, after a show, after doing, I mean, the guy did 2-hour show, and then after the show, stays afterwards to sign had to be 1,000 people's stuff. And it says something about an artist that they're passionate about their fan base and really love what they're doing. So Jim Gaffigan, good on you, brother, for doing that and sticking by. So I will always treasure this. What you got for us, Glenn?
Okay, it's kind of on point with the today's guest. Got these a while back, but all 4 of the Star Trek, when the new movie came out,
Oh yeah,
all 4 of the cups still unopened. I haven't taken them out of the plastic yet, but
beauty.
yeah, that's I don't know if I'll ever drink out of them or not. Maybe one day.
They'll probably be worth a lot of money one day.
Let's see. But that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
I mean, those cups alone, I mean, I don't know if you're like me, but I would never part with anything that I have, even if it was worth like thousands of dollars. It's like it's more valuable, you know, on a personal level, especially if you're a big fan of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Those cups are phenomenal. So where do those come out? Were those like collector items?
Yeah, I think these were. I want to say Burger King. I can't remember actually where we got them, but it was when you know, that Star Trek, the latest, not the latest movie, but when they first, you know, picked off the new one with the whole alternate timeline and everything.
Very cool. Oh yeah, Generations, wasn't it? Was it Generations?
I think they just called it Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
The one before Into Darkness.
Oh, right. Oh, you mean the newest incarnations? Yeah.
Yeah, that had I can't remember his name. I want to say Nemo, something like that. The oh my gosh, names are escaping me, but you know, they went back in time.
Yes.
And changed everything.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was. I like the spin that it totally introduced. Just confusing.
I know, and a lot of fans, of course, Star Trek purists are like, you know, I won't go see those, and I love them. I mean, I gotta say, I love the new movies. They might not be the same thing, but they are something different, and they're very entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how I always feel about restarts, or, you know, reboots, or whatever you call them. And this is, I think, more than a reboot. You know, it's a whole new twist on that universe, because they altered the universe, you know, and it doesn't, like, they don't come up with some corny explanations or whatever, or just kind of like leave it hanging out there. They actually have some science behind it, you know, with the whole altering and everything. And I think that even spilled into the Star Trek the game, the online game, which I played for a very short time, but
gaming, yeah, it's addictive, and I eventually had to get rid of my Xbox because I was like spending too many hours on it. But anyways, we also have so very awesome collector's corner this week. We do something called Headline Sucks. We just kind of talk about a couple of things that are in the news that we kind of, you know, happen to be happening. J.J. Abrams, I don't know if you watched the video recently that he released, but he announced a big Star Wars contest, and the contest is it's kind of becoming more of a popular thing to do amongst celebrities, and you know, other, even political figures have been doing a lot of this. Is that they find a charity of choice. They come up with some really cool giveaway, I guess you could say, or prize, which in this case it's being on the set, and actually I think in the scene of Star Wars, the next Star Wars film. So you get to be there, and all you have to do is donate such and such amount to this charity of choice, and it gives you one entry into the contest. And it's kind of like a drawing, I guess you could say. So you can enter as many times as you want, but this is a great way to raise money for charities. And you said that you do a lot of charity work as well, and you see a lot of this going on in the media and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I use a website called crowdrise.com. They're really cool. A lot of celebrities are plugged into that. I've been doing some work with human trafficking through like Plan USA and different organizations like that for a while. And then Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore came out with a foundation called the DNA Foundation, which is Demi and Ashton Foundation, and they started off a new campaign called Real Men Don't Buy Girls on Crowd Rise. And when I saw that, I mean, I always thought Ashton was kind of cool. You know, I never really was a fan, but then when I saw that he became passionate about this, him and his wife, I mean, he got like plus 100 internets in my mind.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal person anyways. I mean, so back in the day when I used to watch
70 Show?
70s Show, thank you very much. I watched the 70s Show, and I always said, you know, there's a funny guy, you know, and then I learned a little bit about his background. He used to be a model before he was an actor.
I didn't know that.
Got into acting, started doing like the comedy thing. And then, like, you know, he kind of flew off the radar for me for a while after doing that 70s Show. And all of a sudden he pops up on my radar one day. I'm looking online, and he's doing this webinar about creating web content and how important this new generation of people creating web content is just as important as anything else. So he somehow got this webinar thing together where all got these amazing creative minds from different areas of the country, put them all in the same room, and I think they were in different teams and stuff.
Yep, I saw that.
Did you see that? Yeah, it was amazing. And then they came up with these wonderful web content shows, I guess you could say. I don't know how else you put it. And they would create this stuff, and it would be amazing. It would just be phenomenal. And then I read another article that he's like creating apps, and he designs some sort of phone for Samsung or something like that, one of the phone companies. I mean, the guy is multifaceted and obviously very charitable as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to meet him one day. It'd be kind of cool just to shake his hand, you know, just to say, you know, thanks for all your efforts in helping this. Because before, I mean, the whole human trafficking thing, it's been a problem. I mean, slavery it's like number one, number two crime in the world. I mean, it's so huge. Most people don't even realize how big of a problem slavery is, or human trafficking they call it now, or it's got a bunch of different names: forced labor, indentured servitude, whatever. And it never stopped. You know, I forget what the thing that they signed a long time ago that was supposed to have ended it global, but it didn't. I mean, it's thriving more than it ever has. And there was a lot of work going on, but it wasn't mainstream. And I think since Ashton and Demi stepped up to the plate and started making a big deal about it, all of a sudden it became mainstream. And it's gaining momentum, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Topics like that that are taboo because it's happening in our own country are things that kind of fly under the radar until someone steps up who has notoriety and is able to say, hey, enough is enough. Now, what's great about you is you're a person who's been doing this well before Ashton got in the game. So, you know, you guys really are paving the way for someone to step up and make a, known to the world. And so for that, I thank you, Glenn, for doing what you do, man. Really appreciate it. We've got another article. So anyways, if you want, you can go to this website. I don't really have it, but this was a article I pulled off of Newsrama, and I wanted to mention it because I thought it was a really cool way for J.J. Abrams to bring kind of a service to a charity with an amazing project that so many people will get behind. And I'm sure they've already made so much money for this charity that he's supporting.
Do you remember what the charity's for?
I don't, and I'm going to open it right now just to find out, because that's a good point. And what was really cool is that, did you see the video when he did it? It
I
was
did not.
really cool because he actually had a oh, it's UNICEF.
Okay.
Force for Change is the initiative, I guess you could call it.
They're a good organization.
Yeah, the organization, and it's amazing because it's playing an ad right now, but I don't want to do that. It's amazing to see kind of the set of Star Wars in the background, and there's actually a character that walks on the scene that's obviously a creature from the new movie, and it's fanboys like myself who are big into Star Wars. When he released that video, I was like, oh my gosh, what is this video? What is he talking? And I was just like looking in the background the whole time, trying to get an idea of what this scene is that they're shooting. It looks very deserty, you know, type scene. So
Like a Tatooine kind of.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, totally. And so I don't know. I'm really pumped. And when that came out, I even got more excited. Now, second headline suck thing that popped up: Edgar Wright's from the popular movies that he's created over the years, particularly three. That are the trio, I guess you could call them. Departs from directing Ant-Man. Ant-Man is one of those projects that Marvel has kind of been toting as, and as a fan of all the other films that they've done so far, I've always kind of poo-pooed Ant-Man. I don't think he's really going to be that phenomenal, but the way Marvel is saying that this is going to be a really great character and getting the fan base really excited for it. But just like any other time, business meets creativity, there is always a storm, I guess
Yeah.
you could say. Because what happens is the business side of things takes over, and sometimes I guess you could say stunts the creativity of people like Edgar Wright, and I guess that's what kind of happened. There was some script rewrites that he was not happy about, and essentially stepped away from the project.
So it was
Now,
his choice?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was his choice, and I don't believe that. I don't think they're on bad terms. I think he was just like, this is not a direction I want to go into.
Okay.
I obviously, this is all from what I read, and it's not from, me talking to Edgar Wright, but it seems like, no one's mad at each other. I don't think Marvel's like, we hate, Edgar Wright or something like that. I think, like I said, and people are amazed about this. I mean, there is tons of articles online about this. Edgar Wright leaves Ant-Man. Like, no, that's probably not what happened. Edgar Wright read some rewrites and decided that this was something that he didn't want to do.
Right.
Here, I'll read you verbatim what this Newsarama.com article says. It says, bringing in outside screenwriters to revise Wright and co-writer Joe Cornish's final script just 2 weeks before filming was scheduled to begin on June 2nd. After receiving the rewritten script on May 19th, Wright reportedly quit the project. So they bring in outside screenwriters to work on the Ant-Man script that they've already written 2 weeks, or just weeks before filming was scheduled to begin. So I mean, you gotta understand that. You're all behind a project. You're sitting there storyboarding it out, and here come two new screenwriters changing everything last minute, and then they throw this script in your hand and say, okay, and there obviously must be drastic changes, because you don't just leave a project because, a couple of
Right.
periods were inserted or something like that. So I don't know. I think everyone's like, this is the beginning of the end of Marvel.
Well, I've been
films.
hearing that since they started doing X-Men.
Right. Exactly. And
it's just done nothing but blow up, like in their favor. So.
Yep. And laughable. It's laughable that people make such a big deal out of this, because this is how business works all the time and creativity works. It's a flowing project. No one's I don't think they're very mad at each other. I think he just probably walked away because it wasn't his cup of tea after he read it.
Right.
So anyways, it'll probably be less funny because Edgar Wright's not in it, or not a part of the project and directing it, because the guy's hilarious and he
Who's
writes.
replacing him? Do they know?
They haven't mentioned that yet, which is
Okay.
is probably they're probably having scrambling to find someone because they're so close to shooting. So yeah, I don't know. When that breaks though, we'll let everyone know. Another huge, I guess you could say, thing that we just kind of talked about with Vic for a minute here is LeVar Burton resurrecting Reading Rainbow as a kind of a cloud sharing web content type project. Not so much the old school Reading Rainbow that we remember, which is, here's a weekly show on PBS that's going to come out and, read books to your kids and tell them about learning about reading and stuff like that. This is and oh yeah, also I love that the show always took you on some field trips. Took you on some field trips to some places. I always liked that about Mr. Rogers too. It would take you somewhere in the community or something, and you learn about something, which is really cool. Well, LeVar Burton has taken a step further, and what he says in his video on the Kickstarter is that we're taking this for the next generation. They want their stuff on their iPad. They're watching it, and they needed it upload it to their in the cloud, and then everyone can have it. And he's going to do it free for teachers and educators in schools, so that they can use this and utilize it in their classroom, which is it's like a no wonder the guys made $1 million in a day on Kickstarter.
Heck yeah, that's pretty record breaking. I don't think I've seen any crowdfunding that that quickly. That's
because and I'm sure you agree with this. It's a rally call to our community. Let's not reinvent the wheel really with Reading Rainbow, but let's give it another format, update it, and make it free so everyone can see it just like it used to be on PBS. So this was from LA Times, and I just really got to applaud LeVar Burton for stepping up and taking this on, because for years I said I really love that show, and like he was saying, he said in his Kickstarter video, everyone kept coming up to him and emailing him and saying, why don't you bring back Reading Rainbow? And he goes, okay, well, it can't be the same thing, so we got to do something different. And that's what he did.
He modernized it.
Yeah, he modernized it. He's gonna have so much great resources now with all this money that he can use, this great funding, to create this amazing project. So, the sky's the limit what he's going to be able to do with it, but really applaud him for doing that. So anyways, Cinephile this week is the last thing we'll talk about, and I don't know if you've seen it yet, sir, but X-Men Days of Future Past.
I have not. I want to, though.
You have not. Okay. Well, we won't give any spoilerific review then. I'll just give you a quick rundown of what I thought of the film and my expectations going into it. So when I originally heard that they were, creating this time-traveling X-Men film based on, the comics that they had of yesteryear, I was kind of wondering how they're going to pull this off, because we've seen this before, especially when they started kicking out all the names involved and all the characters that would be in it. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this sounds a lot like X-Men 3, right? Because that's what happened in X-Men 3 is they just threw all these characters into that film, and they never really explained a lot of them, like Juggernaut. He's an inmate, and he's in a traveling prison. That's all you need to know about him, and he hits things really hard.
Yeah.
What about a backstory on the guy? I love a little something, but anyway, so I'm like, how are they gonna do this? I'm like, it's a time traveling movie with X-Men in it. I mean, okay, Bryan Singer's coming back. All right, I'm happy about that. So then, the trailers come out. What did you think of the trailers when they first?
I don't watch trailers.
No?
I don't like spoilers. Yeah.
I know a lot of people that do that too, because what's happened is nowadays, a lot
they
of
give you all the big reveals.
Yes, there's a lot of reveals in the trailer, and it makes you go, "Oh, why did you show us the end of the film in the trailer?" But yes, so I watch trailers still only because I'm a frothing at the mouth nerd, and I can't wait. I'm like the kid who used to walk down the stairs when he was a kid and open up all the presents before mom and dad even got up, and then they get up and go, "What the hell?" That was me, So I watched the trailers, and when I saw them, I was like, "This is gonna be good." Like, I don't know for sure, but I'm excited. So then comes out the weekend it came out. My wife is sick, and I say, "Honey," I go, "Well, you'll take some time, rest up, let me know how you feel." The next day, I go, "Okay, how you feel?" She goes, "Well, I feel a little bit, but okay, let's go to the movies." And we go out this door to go see X-Men Days of Future Past, and we watch it, and I am just in awe. First of all, I'm like, oh, I'm seeing another X-Men movie on the big screen. That makes me happy. But watching the time traveling aspect of it, it was interesting. It's not like the book, and a lot of people who are purists of X-Men are going to be like, "That doesn't happen," But it's still enduring. It makes you have the warms and the fuzzies. Makes you laugh in parts. Makes you emote a lot. I'm sure I shed a few tears in that theater. Cool. And in the end, I was just satisfied. You know how a movie usually will end abruptly and you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the end? Like, at this end, I'm like, all right. I'm happy, It's like the bike works. Like on Christmas morning, you ride the bike and you're like, it works. All right. No, that's what it is. It's the big payoff.
Cool.
So I was happy with it, and I always go into movies with very low expectations, and I usually get pleasantly surprised. This one, I wouldn't say what everyone else said, which was best Marvel movie ever, but it's up there with them for sure.
Cool. That's good to hear.
Yes. So, Glenn, let us know how you think it was, man. I'm interested. Just shoot me a thing on Facebook. I'd love to know what you thought of it.
Sure.
From a fellow nerdum, I guess, citizen of nerdum. So, anyways, thanks a lot, Glenn. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully next week, we're gonna have a big guest down with us if she's gonna be available. I'm gonna have to contact her this week just to confirm. But Cameron Bikendova, who is playing Selena Kyle in the new Gotham series, originally scheduled an interview with us before, but unfortunately she had to reschedule because she was still shooting, and they hadn't really announced that Gotham had been picked up yet. So now that they've announced it, she still might be working, and that's why it's kind of up in the air. But hopefully next week we have the new Selena Kyle on with us for the film or for the show Gotham on Fox. I don't know how you're feeling about that show, but I'm really looking forward to it.
I haven't seen much about it.
No?
I don't watch a lot of TV other than like Hulu, So.
Yeah, absolutely. No, all the stuff's online, and it looks like one of those shows that I fell in love with Smallville when it came out.
Yeah, same here.
On the CW, I have the entire show on DVD, and I will show it to my kids one day and be like, "This is how you make a comic book show."
Yeah.
Because I loved it so much, and now here comes Gotham, and it's got that same feel where it's going back to the beginning. It's showing the progression of all these villains, but also the progression of the relationship between Commissioner Gordon and Bruce Wayne, the young Bruce Wayne. And getting to see all that from the beginning is just amazing. Now, it's a concept that Kevin Smith talked about on his show, on his podcast, I should say, Fat Man on Batman. He mentioned he talked about this huge show that he would do with Paul Dini, live action show, where it was Bruce Wayne back in his days of private school, and all the players would be there. All the villains would be going to school with him, and it's kind of like Smallville, and you'd see the progression of all the villains. And like not even, a week later, Fox comes out with the story of Gotham, which is, I don't think it's the same thing, and I'm certainly not saying they ripped it off, but it was kind of funny how those two things happen in sequential order, where you were like, wow. I hope maybe one day Kevin Smith. What's that?
When is it supposed to air?
Gotham? I'm not sure. It's probably. I'm thinking it's not going to be this season.
Okay.
It'll probably be the following. I guess what would it be? Fall season? Probably fall. That's when all the big shows will come out again. So I'm looking forward to that, and please come back and watch. If we don't have Cameron on with us, we'll get another guest on with us, and that'll be great. So thanks a lot to Glenn for being our co-host for this evening. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
We're trying to get some more hosts on a regular basis for the show because Brent is very busy guy. He's like spinning plates constantly. And I'm a busy guy too, but I'm on every episode because hey, it's my show.
Right.
So so we're trying to get some more hosts, and if you guys want to apply to be a host, just let us send us a bio and a picture, and let us know what your interests are and what you could bring to the table, and you can send it to notsocoolkidspodcast@gmail.com.
Okay.
And yeah, any ladies, guys, whoever, we're trying to look for a good a group of people that we can feature on episodes, so we at least have one or two people to talk with about these different subjects that come up. Also, a couple of other awesome guests that we have coming up. Dave Dwank, who is the creative director of Action Lab Comics, is going to be on with us June 19th. We've got John Harris and Bill Sininger. I don't know how to pronounce. Sorry, Bill. But they're the creators of Prolific Games, and they've got some tabletop games that they're creating. That
Cool.
I've been waiting so long to get a tabletop game creator on with us to kind of go over gaming as a whole and how it's growing, but also how these talk about their projects specifically on June 26th. So that's going to happen on June 26th. And then, of course, we've got some other guests coming up too, but I don't want to spoil too much. So thank you guys so much for watching the Not So Cool Kids podcast, episode 44. We had awesome guest Vic Mignogna was on with us. Glenn, thank you so much, sir, for being co-host. And we will see you next time on the Not So Cool Kids podcast. Peace. All right.